downsizing. So when I first started, I would have loved for this to be a more broadly covered topic. So I'm going to cover 4 different things in this video: why I decided to start downsizing, what my concerns were when we first started, how we started, and how it's going so far. We decided when we were living in a 3-bedroom house that was just way too much space for us. It's just us and our 2 dogs. We did have pretty much every room in that house filled with all of our possessions at the time, and it just was very overwhelming. Everything that we had at the time, we ended up buying a whole bunch of stuff specifically just to fill that space because we had the space. And we ended up just starting to feel like that was not the right thing for us. We did not want to continue to buy things just for the sake of having things to fill up the space we were taking up. So at that point, we decided to move to a smaller space. We decided to go to a 2-bedroom apartment. We still had a detached garage at that apartment, so we still had quite a bit of space and quite a bit of possessions still. When we decided that we were not going to renew our lease on that apartment, that was really when we started taking the downsizing way more seriously. And at that point in time, we went ahead and made the decision to move in with my dad. There was a lot that went into that decision, but it was a pretty easy decision. You know, it's a comfortable space, it's a large enough space, it's very sufficient for the 3 of us and our pets, you know. And, you know, we all sat down and kind of talked about it. We all get along. We decided to go ahead and start renovating some of the rooms here in this house. That was the point where we started having more of a method to what are we keeping, what are we getting rid of. But generally speaking, the why behind all of this was just that we decided that having that much space, having that amount of possessions, having that much stuff to take care of, to replace, to dust and clean and maintain was just not improving our quality of life. It was making us more stressed. It was making us feel overwhelmed. That situation was not bringing us happiness and contentment, and we just wanted less. It just aligns more with what we want out of life and with the kind of lifestyle that we live. So once we decided that we were going to go ahead and start downsizing, some of our main concerns, obviously to start off with, were, well, what about if we miss our stuff? You know, this was a very real concern, and you know, I spent a lot of time thinking about, well, how long have I had this item? How much money did I spend on this item versus how long have I actually had it? You know, like if I spent $100 on this thing, I've only had it for a few months. That's kind of hard to part with because at that point it feels like I wasted my money. And I really had to come to terms with the fact that I did waste my money, because at the end of the day, I still don't want this thing. I'm just keeping it to validate my purchase almost, and that's not a good reason to keep stuff, in my opinion, for me. So, you know, those were some concerns. Just what is an ethical way to get rid of all of the things that we got rid of, because we ended up getting rid of about 80 to 85% of our possessions, and that's a lot of stuff to get rid of. At least for us it was. So only things that were absolutely unusable, broken to the point where they could not be fixed, or you know, actually trash to the point where people would not want it, which was not very many things. Those things got actually thrown away. Everything else that we had got donated. We gave it to friends. Again, concerns with that was, oh, well, what if 6 months from now I'm like, oh man, I should have kept my whatever. And at the end of the day, it really came down to me asking myself, why did I buy this in the first place? And most of the reasoning was because I could. And would I buy this thing again? Again, usually the answer was no, I wouldn't buy it again. And when was the last time that I actually used this thing? and shockingly, or not so shockingly really, was I was not using a lot of the clothing that I got rid of, a lot of the kitchen appliances that we got rid of, just a lot of the little knickknacks, things that just sat around and collected dust, old dog toys, old papers that we kept because they just never got thrown away, invitations to things, cards, duplicates of photos, I mean, just you name it, old electronics, old cell phones that we've had for 10 years, just things that you don't need to keep, in my opinion, things that we did not feel we needed to keep. So a lot of that stuff got donated. Some of it I even sold on Facebook Marketplace. You know, we actually turned a profit on some of it, not very much of it, maybe like 5 or 10 items. And they weren't huge ticket items either, except for maybe our dining room table. As things started clearing out from the apartment, those concerns, those worries and feelings also started leaving, because once I got rid of some of my clothes and some weeks went by and I wasn't missing those items, I was like, oh, okay, like this is fine, actually. You know, we started getting rid of some of our larger stuff. Again, our dining room table, one of our TVs, you know, those kinds of things where you spend good money on that kind of stuff and it's hard to get rid of it. It's hard to sell it back because you're not going to get what you paid for it. But once it was gone, we were like, oh, we have so much more space. Like, we have so much more room and we don't miss it. We never used it. Our dining room table never got used. We never sat there. It literally was just a surface where we sat things, and it was just something else to clean. So, you know, once those things were gone, just we could breathe again. We were like, wow, we only bought a dining room table because that's something you buy whenever you have a house. It just didn't feel right at the end of the day. So, you know, those concerns and fears were very real at the beginning for sure, but pretty soon after we started the process, the amount of relief alleviated all the worries that we had at the beginning. So if you're in a space where you're thinking about downsizing and you're thinking to yourself, oh, well, if I start getting rid of my stuff, then I'm gonna panic. I'm gonna think that, you know, I need to buy all of it back, or I'm gonna miss it, or what if we need it? Get rid of some smaller things first and just see how it feels and sit with it. And if you really feel like if you get rid of more, it's going to make you feel worse or, you know, regretful in any way, then keep it. But if you start feeling like you could live without more stuff, I genuinely urge you to follow that feeling, because now, after the fact, after getting rid of everything, the amount of relief is pretty indescribable. So now I'm going to talk about how we actually got started with the process. It was slow and it took a lot of time. So it's not quick. It isn't going to happen overnight. It's not even going to happen in a week. I started by inviting my sister over, and she was really just moral support, emotional support for the whole thing. She sat there while I went through every single item of clothing that I had, while I went through every single thing that was in my kitchen cabinets, everything that was in my bathroom, every single one of my dog toys. I mean, she was a real trooper about it. And luckily, me and my sister can hang out in a room together and not really talk much and just kind of exist together. So find you somebody like that, find you a family member or a friend like that, and be like, hey, can you just come over to my apartment or my house and just exist in the room with me while I go through all of my books, while I go through all of my magazines, while I go through all of my coffee mugs, you know, whatever it is that you're trying to tackle that day. Having somebody to sit there and support you and ask them, when is the last time you saw me wear this shirt? You know, find somebody that's going to be honest. I think that's step one. At least that really helped me. The next thing that I would say is go one room at a time. It was really difficult for me at the beginning before I found that out, because I was kind of jumping around all over the place, seemingly picking up just like random items around my home, and it felt like I wasn't making any major progress. Once I decided, okay, I'm going to start with my bedroom. Let's do the whole bedroom. We're going to tackle the closet, we're going to tackle the dresser, we're going to tackle the nightstands, we're going to tackle everything else. Start with one room, do every single thing in that room, everything, top to bottom. Empty every drawer, empty every closet, every shelf, everything under your bed. Get everything, go through it, and ask yourself, do I need this? Is it adding value to my life? Would I buy it again? When's the last time I used it? Those are literally the questions I asked myself. And 9 times out of 10, I was like, oh, this just sits here. This just takes up space. This is just something else that I'm gonna have to continue to clean and maintain or move again the next time I move. So I would say go room by room, item by item. And once you're done with your bedroom, move on to your bathroom, move on to your hallway closet, move on to your kitchen. Kitchen is a beating, I'm not gonna lie. It was worth it. So don't let it overwhelm you. Don't get flustered. Don't get like, oh my gosh, this is too much. I'm just not going to do anything. I'm just not going to start anywhere. Start with one drawer. Start in one room with one drawer. And if all you get done that day is that one drawer, you at least know, hey, that drawer is done. And tomorrow or a few days from now, whenever I get another boost of motivation and the energy hits me, I'll go to the next drawer. And you'll start to see the progress slowly. But it keeps you motivated to do the next thing. And honestly, I think once you start with one part of the house, it's going to motivate you to do other parts of the house because you'll be able to visibly see the progress. So that's how we stayed motivated. That was our method, and it really worked for us. And we ended up getting our whole apartment decluttered in a matter of like 4 or 5 months, which I know sounds like a really long time, but in the grand scheme of things, it took us years to acquire all of that stuff. So it's only fair that it took us a while to get rid of all of it in a good way. We were trying not to just throw things out. We were trying to give them new life, give them away to other people who would value them and get use out of them. So, if that's not your method, then maybe you can do it a little bit faster, but for us, it took us some time to rehome some of our items. How it's going now is good. It's still a work in progress, but it's a lot better than it was. I think once you get through the bulk, at least for us, once we got through the bulk of all of our things and we actually made the move from our apartment into my dad's house, and we have our space and our items that, we chose to bring with us, the key now is just keeping it organized and being more mindful about what we bring into the house now. We have continued to get rid of items even now, multiple years into this decluttering journey, if you will. And even now, sometimes I go in my closet and I pull out shirts, not this one because I like this one obviously, but I'll go into my closet and pull out a shirt and think to myself, this really suited me a few years ago, but now it doesn't, and I don't wear it anymore, and I can't see myself wearing it again in the future, so I'll go take it to the resale, or give it to a friend I know that likes it, and that never stops. We continuously go through the house and pick up things. Oh, we actually don't need this magazine, or even after the holidays. Sometimes at a work party or something, one of those functions where you just like do a gift exchange and you end up with some stuff, and we'll either re-gift it where it's not just going in the trash. We try really hard not to just throw things away, but you still will end up with things that you don't want. You still will find things around the house even years later. And so it's just an ongoing thing where you have to continue to go through stuff every once in a while and get rid of it. That, and again, being more mindful about what you do bring into the house. There was a point in time where I would just go shopping, which I know might sound really normal, but to me it doesn't sound normal anymore, and it doesn't feel normal anymore. Like if I am going shopping, it's because I have a list of things that I need to get. I don't just go shopping for the sake of shopping anymore. And I am by no means saying that people who do that are terrible people or wrong or shaming anybody. Again, I used to do that. I just now choose not to, and I choose to be more mindful about where my money goes, why I'm purchasing things, and I now feel a sense of responsibility, I guess is the best way I can say it, where if I do go buy a new piece of clothing, That's going to take up space. That's money that I could put to better use, in my opinion, unless I really need whatever it is. So I'm gonna have to essentially like budget the space for this new item, and then I'm gonna have to wash it, upkeep it. If it gets stained, I'm gonna have to treat it. It's something else to fold and put back. Like, it's a time investment also, the more things that I bring into my house. Which, again, might sound kind of dramatic, but it adds up over time. I'm a lot more mindful about that now, and I try to intentionally buy things. And don't get me wrong, I'm not perfect. That, I think, is the ongoing journey of how it's going now post decluttering or post mass decluttering. And the only other thing that I would say is the peace and serenity that I feel walking into my bedroom, walking into our office, and it's not just filled with things, items that I don't really value or treasure or feel a connection to, which may sound sort of woo-woo, but you know, there's a big difference between walking into a room and the things that are in that room are valuable to you. Now, post decluttering, I value every item that I have in my home. Everything I have in my home has a purpose. I use it, I value it, it brings me joy, and that is a good feeling, to not have a house full of just stuff that's there, and that's it. If anybody else is on this journey, or if anybody else can resonate with something that I've said, let me know, and let me know where you are on your journey, whether you're just starting or whether you're further down the road than I am. I hope that this has brought some sort of value to you if you've been thinking about decluttering. I hope that this video was helpful in some capacity. I love sharing my experiences and having conversations with other people who are like-minded and, you know, also trying to figure it out as far as how to just live healthier and happier and more intentionally. So let me know what you think, and thank you for watching.